My guest on today's episode needs no introduction to the ultra running world. It is none other than Phil Gore, current world record holder of the Backyard Ultra with 119 loops. Phil was generous enough to give me an hour of his time in what has been a crazy period for the man as he embarks on Project 168, where outside of a competitive backyard setting, so this is not a race, he will be attempting to run for 7 days, so 168 laps, 168 hours, however you want to cut it up. We get into so many different things about, why he decided to run this format and not just try and continue down the same path of cracking 168 in a backyard ultra itself, why he's doing this for a charitable cause and how you can support yourself, as well as heaps of other topics, from what his favorite nutrition is out on course, some of the stuff that he's been trialing, and to bring it home, what lays ahead in the future for Phil Gore beyond backyards. I really hope you enjoy this episode as much as I did, and I was super grateful to be able to share an hour with the big man himself, Phil Gore. Phil, thanks so much for jumping on the potty, mate. I really appreciate it. As we've sort of gone back and forth, I can't imagine all the logistics that you're having to push yourself through, let alone actually wrapping your head around running 7 days straight. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me.
Mate, I guess I wanted to dive straight into what Project 168 is. So for those that may not be familiar, what it is that you're about to put yourself through, what is Project 168 and how does it differ from like your stereotypical backyard ultra?
Yeah, so this is it's more of like a personal challenge for myself to see how far I can go, but I'm following the same format as a backyard ultra. So yeah, there's nothing official about it, but yeah, still trying to follow the same format, same rules. And for those people who don't know what a backyard ultra is, you run 6.7 Ks on the hour every hour, and it normally just keeps going until there's only one person left. As soon as the second last person drops out, that last person just does one more lap. So in my situation, most of the times I have been that last one standing, which means I haven't found what that limit is. Mm-hmm. So with Project 168, I just remove that factor of having other competitors, having an assist, and it's just about myself and seeing how far I can go.
And speaking on that, it's funny, this afternoon, I was rewatching one of the docos of yourself on YouTube when you won Hurdies a few years ago. And I think you cracked the 48-hour mark for that. Yeah. And the doco sort of closes with you saying, like, I was the last one standing, but I haven't found out how far I can go. How does it feel being here now, what you're about to do, and you still don't know the answer to that question?
Yeah, it's a little bit daunting. Like I have set myself a massive goal. Like it is like another 2 days more than what I've ever done before. I do believe, it's a believable goal. Like I do believe I can achieve it, but it's definitely going to push me out of my comfort zone. And yeah, at the end of the day, we don't know if I'll get there or not, but either way, I'm going to find out a lot about myself.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And now I think the best part about this project is that it is something that's bigger than yourself as well. You are raising money for charity. So would you be able to sort of shed some light on who you are going to be raising money for and how people can get involved? Because I saw as of tonight, there's a few new ways that people can get involved that won't be able to be there in person as well.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, I've partnered with Telethon. So, Telethon is a WA-based charity, and yeah, they just help kids through like medical support, medical research, supporting the children's hospitals. It's a big thing here in WA, and it's something that I grew up with watching on the TV. Every year they do what's called a telethon weekend, where they have celebrities come in and take donations and things like that. And yeah, obviously, like, it's something that's close to me because as a kid I was in the hospital a few times, and as a parent I've had my kids in the hospital a few times. So I thought, yeah, instead of just using this as a personal challenge, let's use it for something a bit bigger than myself, and let's raise money for a good cause. So yeah, you can donate through the website, so philgore.com.au. Hang on, I'll say that bit again. So you can donate through the website, philgore.com.au. So you can just leave a flat donation, or you can book a virtual lap. So a virtual lap, you donate an amount of money and you nominate a lap, any lap number between 1 and 168, and then when that time comes around, wherever you are in the world, you run that lap at the same time as me. And yeah, just tag us in your socials and on your Strava. We'll give you a shout out on the live stream, and it's just a way that you can be involved without actually being there in person. And yeah, of course, you can also donate to run a lap with me in person. So at the moment, our first 2 releases have sold out, so there's not any available online. We are releasing more on Sunday, so I don't know when this podcast is going to come out.
Yeah, it'll be out on Monday, mate. I'll get it out as soon as I can.
Yeah. So hopefully, there should still be some left there on Monday that you can snap up. So if you are a local to Perth, or you're coming down to Perth for the event, you can book a lap to run with me in person. And then also there's a few other ways where we're selling shirts to commemorate the event. So that's available through the website. So every shirt you buy, a portion of that will go to Telethon. And throughout the event, there's going to be giveaways and things like that. So just keep an eye on the event, and there's going to be other ways that you can donate.
Oh, so good. When I saw that the virtual option came up, I thought, what a fantastic idea. Even just for like run clubs and stuff to try and, get their team down there and celebrate. And, I was already having a bit of a squizzy at what time the project finishes local here in Queensland, and it's 9 a.m. on a Sunday. I couldn't think of a better time to sort of just go rip 6.7, race back, see if I can beat you on the last one, and settle in on the live stream and watch it all unfold. So, I think it's such a great idea, and, just a wonderful cause to be able to tie in something that I'm sure is going to be a growth-filled week for yourself.
Yeah. I've also done it as a way to encourage people to get off the couch, get outside and get moving.
Absolutely.
So I'm just hoping that this might inspire a few people who might not be a regular runner, and that's their reason to go out and run for that day or whatever it might be.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's what Backyard does so well. It just walks through so many different ability levels. We've all been a part of backyards where, some people are literally there to just get the first one done. And that's what their big overarching goal is, right up to yourself, who's now trying to have a crack at 7 days straight. So, I think it's such a wonderful format of inclusivity. So, like I was saying, I just love the ascension of backyards and the varying levels of ability that people are afforded to walk through. And looking back at your previous attempts on that documentary that I was watching this afternoon, even back then when you were sort of at that 2-day mark, which is still crazy to think about for the average person, but given where you're at now, what does it feel like for you in walking through those steps of where you've come from to where you are now? And do you view it as the exact same thing? Like, are you just layering on, rep after rep, prep after prep? How has it evolved for you mentally?
Yeah, well, I look back on that event, and that 48 hours, that was tough. But you think that the more that you do these events, and when you look at doing 119 hours, people might think that I find 48 hours easy now. But, 48 hours, that's still a long time. And if anything, I probably find those first 48 hours harder than the following 48 hours, just because, it does feel a lot more of like a grind, and you go from feeling really fresh to, you are hurting in that first 48 hours, whereas the next 48 hours, it's like, well, you're already hurting when you started. You might be hurting a little bit more, but it's kind of like by that point, you're kind of just in the zone, and you're just going with it by that point. But I think I've definitely evolved at the more of these events that I've done, mentally, physically, logistically, even just my plan, the way that's evolved over time. And instead of my plan just saying, okay, this is a time that you're going to eat, it's now this is what you're going to eat. And it's kind of taken out a bit of that decision making, because I've just done it that many times that I know what's going to work at that time of day, and I know when I'm going to be sleeping, and all of that sort of thing. It's all logistically it's a lot more it's a lot smoother, but definitely I think the mental growth and the physical growth is obviously key as well.
100%. Talk me through I guess, the evolution of your logistical approach to these backyards? Because anyone that sort of watched you compete over the years knows that you are a very detailed person when it comes to your race preps, and you, like you sort of just said then, is it as a means to just reduce the decision fatigue throughout the race and to allow your crew to take over for you as best they can?
Yeah, definitely. I've definitely like not always been organized. Like my first backyard, I just winged it. Like I had no idea what I was doing. I had like a bag of food and a bag of clothes, and yeah, like I didn't even have crew for the first 8 or 9 hours.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, got to the end of that. That was 39 hours, and like just looking back on it, it's like I'm still stumped as how I got that far without having that much of a plan. But it kind of made me realize, okay, if I want to go far in this format, like I need to plan a bit better. I need to anticipate what's going to come up. I need to have some sort of framework of what I'm going to be doing on each lap. So yeah, the next backyard I went into, I had a bit more of a plan. But yeah, as I said, it wasn't super detailed. It was just be like, okay, now, at this point you're having a big meal. But then, yeah, the crew would come and ask me, okay, you've got dinner up next. What do you want? And yeah, like when you're 24 hours into a backyard and someone says to you, what do you want? It's like, I don't know. And then it evolved to like, okay, these are your options. You can have this, this, or this. But then even just choosing between three options was a decision. So now it's at the point where it's like, this is what you're having. And, you know, it might change. Like the crew might say, okay, you're having this for dinner. And I'll be like, no, I don't really feel like that. Then the crew will know, okay, well, what about this instead? They'll offer something else instead of me trying to sit there and decide, okay, this is what I'll have. But yeah, and it's the crew that's kind of evolved with it as well. So, like my wife crews for me at pretty much all of my events. There's one or two that she's missed, but then the other team of people I've got around me as well. They've got experience from various different events. So the more of these events I've done and the more experience they've had crewing me, they work out all of these little problems that might come up, and they can assist me in the best way without me needing to sit there and explain to them, oh no, you need to do it this way, or you need to do this, or blah blah blah. I can just worry about running, and they just worry about everything else.
Yeah, perfect. And when it comes to eating, has your palate changed much throughout the years of ultra? Like, was there something that always worked that slowly went off the boil, or has something come into the fray that's worked more and it didn't in the past?
Yeah, it's funny. It does go in like in waves, and like for example, one of my go-to foods when I first started doing this was the Allen snakes. But then I went off the Allen snakes and started having the natural confectionery lollies. But now I'm kind of going off the natural confectionery, and they've brought out the new speckled snakes, which are really cool. So I've gone back to having the snakes, although they're a little bit different, but it's kind of come like a bit full circle. But yeah, nerd clusters as well. Like they weren't even a thing when I first started doing backyards, but there's something new now that I love to include. And some of it's not just about taste, but it might be about like logistics. Like, you know, I remember the first or second backyard, like my wife was like cooking up salmon and veggies on a fry pan and all that. And you know, it's not just the cooking it, but then you've got all these dishes to try and clean when you're like in a camping situation. So just going to something like microwave meals, if you have access to a microwave, and that saves a lot of the cleaning. And if there's no microwave or any cooking facilities, well, at least I can, you know, bring a little jet boil and I can boil water. So I might have those dehydrated camping meals or noodles and things like that. So yeah, it does depend on those other factors at play. But yeah, in terms of my taste and my palate, there's a few things in there that are still the same, but there's definitely a lot which are new. And each event I'll probably try something new, or like something new has been released by that point, and I work it into my plan. And I'm not just throwing it straight in on the event day. Obviously, it's stuff that I test in the lead up. But yeah, if I'm doing a 100k run in training and I'm trying these speckled snakes and whatever else I've got and it's working really well, then I'll just throw that into my plan.
Yeah, what is your pick? A nerd cluster, or is the speckled snake slowly
I like the snakes
make
better.
it?
Yeah,
Yeah, you like
the
it?
snakes are made with proper cane sugar, not the high fructose corn syrup like the nerd clusters are. I mean,
Yep.
don't get me wrong, they're both still great, but my preference is the speckled snakes.
Yeah, nice. I did what you shouldn't do, and trial things on game day. I was re-listening to your potty with Patto the other day,
Yeah.
just before my 100 miler over the weekend, and I was at Woolies while I was listening to it, and we just went straight down the aisle and chucked a few bags in, and I was like, we'll throw caution to the wind, and
Yeah.
yeah, they went down really well. It was something just nice. Something about that little zing at the back of
Yeah.
your throat, hey, just
Yeah.
helps just change that palate up, especially
Yeah.
when you're trying to bounce between like the sweetness of a gel and then
Yeah.
like the saltiness of like chips and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was good. So
And they're
yeah, all right.
crunchy and they're chewy. So
Yeah, so you've got the texture as well, hey?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. I guess the next direction that I sort of wanted to take this was, what do you think is the biggest limiting factor to you making this 168 hours real? Like, what's the biggest thing that's going to stand in your way?
Well, I guess I think sleep. Like, don't get me wrong, I am good at getting sleep during these events, but I think for anyone, sleep is going to be that limiting factor. Um, yeah, like when I've done these events before and I've been at that close to 5 day mark, I've felt pretty good, and I've still felt like I could possibly go another day. Yeah, 7 days, it's probably too far away to think about at that point. Uh, but you do feel that sleep start catching up on you, or that lack of sleep start catching up on you. Like towards the end of Bigs, there were moments where I was getting confused and wondering what country I was in, and what I was doing. So yeah, I think there are a few other factors at Bigs as well, but yeah, I do feel that'll be one of the ultimate limiters in the end, and that's what you see when people are reaching their limit and they're tapping out. It's something to do with sleep generally. Obviously, there's always the risk of injury, or it could be like just trip over and break a bone, or get bit by a snake, or something like that. There's these things that could end my race very early. But yeah, that's the thing with the backyard. You just don't know. Like, yes, I believe that I can run 168 hours, but something could also happen at 30 hours that makes me drop out. It might be something out of my control, or it might just be a little accident, like I've slipped up, or. But yeah, like I feel like a lot of the other issues I've had in backyards, like nausea, for example, I've had events where I've had nausea and battled through it, and still come out good out the other side, where it hasn't really been something that's ended my race. So if I think of besides my first one, the only other one that I've DNF'd was Biggs in 2023, and that one I had an issue with my leg, which started hurting in the 70s. I had a fall. Oh no, sorry. It was in around the 80s. There was one of the other runners had collapsed on a bridge, and he was like catatonic. So
Oh,
I
whoa.
stopped and I waited with this runner. I called back to my crew to like ask to send someone out. Anyway, by the time someone else had come out to like help him back and make sure he's going to be all right, I'd chewed up a little bit of time, and then so I sprinted back to get to the finishing time. And I think sprinting back on that sore leg just made it even worse.
Yeah, right.
And it just continued to go downhill from there. And then it wasn't, I still got through to lap 100, but that was when I had my fall. When I had a fall, made the leg worse, a few other issues, like, I was feeling a bit dizzy and stuff like that. I finished that lap, but then I just wasn't able to finish the next one. So, yeah, that's if I look at that, that's something that ended my race, was like a physical injury. But I feel like I've trained myself up, and I've learned a lot from that to hopefully avoid an injury like that for this event.
And when we talk about your training prep, you sort of, at least I've watched over the last few years, where you'll always get, quite a decent long run in, somewhere up around that 100K mark. Is that something that you took from someone else, or is that just like a little bit of trial and error that you've sort of played around with on your own? Like, how did you sort of come to land on that training sort of regime?
Well, I can't even remember the first time I actually did it, but it probably was from doing race, like trying to fit too many races in my calendar, and then I end up having these races back to back. And it's like, well, I want to do both of them. Okay, I'll use that first one as a training run,
Yep.
and then 5 weeks later I'll be doing the main one. And it just kind of was a system that worked. And then I thought, let's try and do this for future events. And I can't remember specifically when it was, but it's just something that I've done and it's worked. And I enjoy doing these long runs as well. I like to go and smash out a 100k run, outside of a race. And so it's good to just have a spot in my plan where I can put that in and use it as a good training run for something big coming up.
Yeah, how much of the thought behind your training must include that enjoyment factor? Because I imagine when you have to prepare for these multi-days where you know you're going to be in the absolute pits, at least for, potentially days, like how much effort do you put into making sure that you've got this enjoyable session this week or in this block?
I don't really feel like I need to put effort into making sure that happens. It's like I just go out and I run and I enjoy it. Don't get me wrong, there are days where I don't enjoy it and I might struggle to get out of bed and get my run done. Even on some of these longer runs, I might dread, tomorrow morning I've got that long run. But then once I get out there and I'm running, I'm really enjoying it. But I'd say, like, for these events, I think something important is to actually have those runs in your plan that you don't enjoy. So, it might just be running around a 300-meter loop for 20 Ks and you're not having those interesting different places to look at and you're just seeing the same thing all the time and you're not going anywhere exciting. And so it's about building yourself up mentally to be able to deal with that boredom. And what are you going to do when you get into that part of a race where you're feeling bored or you're just sick of doing the same loop over and over? Because trust me, that's going to happen. And as I said before, like these early hours of the backyard, they can be a bit of a grind, and you would just be points in there like, why did I do another one of these? Why did I sign up for this? So I think, having that mindset that, you can just run for hours on end without being stimulated from every direction, it's a good thing to include in your training.
What strategies do you use to try and overcome that boredom factor?
Well, in a backyard, it's good because they're quite social and you've got other people to talk to. Each lap you might be running with someone different. And then, so I think you just got to, try and make it social. I mean, a lot of people turn to music and audiobooks. For me, I don't really do that too often in races. I'll do it in training. Like pretty much every time I'm training, I'm listening to an audiobook or a podcast. But then when it comes to the race, I don't know, I'm just more focused on the race. And, a lot of the stuff that's going through my head, it might just be maths. Like I'm looking at the pace that I'm doing and working out, okay, what time is that going to get me back at the thing? And when I get back to my tent, what is it that I need to do? Am I going to be putting on sunscreen? Am I going to eat? What am I going to tell my crew? So there's just always thoughts about the race, like just going through my head, and that I find that kind of distracts me a bit. And so if there isn't someone there to run with, I feel like I'm the sort of person that can run quite well on my own. Like I don't necessarily need that other person to motivate me to run alongside or anything like that.
Yeah, that's fascinating that you say you're always sort of processing things. So would you say that the distraction factor from boredom, you're naturally someone who is quite process oriented rather than results oriented?
Yeah, definitely. My whole thing, like with backyards, I know Project 168, I'm putting a big goal on that with 168, but with backyards, when I go into them, I don't have a goal. It's not about trying to beat a PB or trying to get a record or even trying to be the last one standing. It's just I'm in that race for as long as I can be in it. Like I just want to, and even if I might be at lap 40 or, one of the early laps, and, I feel like I'm not going to be getting too much further. And, it's like the thoughts go through your head like, well, what's the point of sticking it out for another 3 laps when I'm not going to get anywhere near my PB? It's like, well, can you do one more lap? Yep. Okay, let's do one more lap and then we'll worry about the lap after that. And then, if you do that, when you have one of those tough spots, you might just do those 2 or 3 more laps, and then suddenly you're feeling better, and it's like, okay, yeah, let's just keep going now. I can't believe I was thinking about dropping out 3 laps ago. So it's definitely always focus on the process. If you're sitting there at, you know, halfway to your PB and you're focusing too much on getting to that magic number, and it can be too overwhelming. It's like, well, you're doing it wrong. Just think back, can I do this next lap? Yeah, okay. What do I need to do to get to the lap after that? And you just follow that process.
I wanted to take a quick break from the podcast to share with you a resource that's going to help with your training. I know that so many things go on in our lives and it's hard to really isolate what is and isn't working. So I've created a 5-minute quiz that looks to identify the exact bottlenecks in your training. So whether it's from a strength piece, whether it's from training volume, certain behavioral traits that you carry towards training, nutrition, how you recover. And it's not just some like arbitrary cookie cutter thing that you're just going to throw away at the end. I've worked really hard to create customized answers based off your responses. And you'll actually get tangible things you can go and apply to your training based on some of those bottlenecks that we identify. So it only takes 5 minutes. You just head to either the link in my bio on Instagram or just simply search doseofbenny.com and you'll be taken straight to the link and you can get started there. Now, back to the episode. And have you brought that mindset from somewhere else in your life? You know, like whether it's a previous job, or have you always sort of had that in your running experience? Like where does that process-oriented analytical mind come from, do you think?
No, I think I've developed it over time from doing these ultras and backyards. And I think a book that played a big role in my development as a runner is Atomic Habits by James Clear. So I don't know if you've read that book or heard of that book, but yeah, it's very much about like building these habits and following the process and not thinking about the overall goal and stuff like that. And I have had mindset coaching as well. So I did work with a guy called Rob Donkersloot for a little bit, and that's those same sort of ideas and you know, mental strategies and skills. So yeah, it's definitely something that's been developed. And yeah, like I used to, like when I first got into running, for example, when it was, you know, I was just doing 5K park run, and it was always about, no, I just got to beat my PB. I just got to beat my PB. Like each week I'm going, and it's just, yeah, you're just focusing on that, and then you miss out on your PB, and then you think you had a really crap run, but you've got to like look at it as a whole process. Like whereabouts am I in my training schedule? How was I feeling that day? What were the conditions? So yeah, if you just get too focused on that goal, if you miss out on that goal, then you can turn like a good run into just like a really negative experience. So, but if you focus on the process and you execute the process properly, then it doesn't matter on the result. Like if you're happy with the process, that can still be a win.
Yeah, 100%. And circling back to the sleep component that you were touching on earlier, saying that you think that's obviously a massive factor in whether you can or can't make the 7 days. Are you someone who naturally falls asleep quite easily, or is there a practice that you have to help get you into sleep when you're doing these faster versus slower loops?
It's something that I've definitely worked on. And I think that starts at home. So not necessarily like, you know, training for it for the backyard, but just about my sleep habits at home. And again, this is stuff that I've taken from Atomic Habits, but just little things like not charging my phone in the bedroom. So I put that in a different room. So when I'm going into bed, I'm there to sleep. I'm not doom scrolling on my phone for half an hour and then it's like, okay, I better put this away now. I need to sleep. It's like once I've gone into that room, yeah, it's phones away, go to sleep. Just making sure I'm sticking to a decent bedtime and making sure I'm trying to get that 8 hours. Obviously, if I have to get up at like 3 a.m. to do a 100k run, I might get a little bit less sleep, but even on those nights, like I'm still trying to get to bed a bit earlier and still making sure I can get a decent amount of sleep. So I think, yeah, just building those strong sleeping habits at home then transfers over to when I'm trying to sleep at a backyard ultra. Because, yeah, at home, I'll now get to sleep within minutes of my head hitting the pillow.
Yeah, right.
And so when you're in a backyard ultra, yeah, if you can get to sleep within minutes of your head hitting the pillow, you know, that's a really strong advantage as opposed to someone who takes 20 minutes to get to sleep because, yeah, then you go and lie down for 20 minutes and and you're just about ready to fall asleep, it's like the bell goes and you got to start running again. So yes, it's definitely something that I've worked on and has been an advantage to me in these events.
Yeah, it's something that I've always thought, I can't remember the exact numbers, but at Biggs, I believe it was, and they showed the stats on just, I think it was a French guy, on how many more hours he'd spent on his feet compared to you by like day 4 or 5 or something. And it was like somewhere in the realm of like 12 to 15 hours or something, like the amount of time that
Yeah.
because he'd just been running it right up to the end.
Yeah.
And I think you see that a lot in a lot of the European runners. Like they run their loops quite slow and they sort of just get in that rhythm of over and over again. Whereas you've sort of developed that
Yeah.
flexibility. Is that something that sort of just came naturally to you with like trying to progress the fast, medium, slow loops? Like, did you do realize that, hey, I probably need to risk, at least that's probably what it was perceived at, I assume, initially, going faster so I can try and bank some sleep?
Yeah, well, I think before I was like really into the ultras, as I mentioned before, like I was into park run and the shorter distances, and like I was a like I've done a few sub 16 minute park runs. My marathon PB. Well, it's not an official marathon PB because it was during a 50K, not during a marathon. But it was about 2:38. So I do feel like I've got a bit of speed in my legs, and I just thought, well, let's just use this to my advantage. Like I'm the sort of person that can, like, I'm not running at a 16 minute 5K pace,
Of course.
but if I'm running at a 5 minute pace compared to a 16 or what, yeah, so that what is it about a 3 minute 7 second pace for a 16 minute 5K. So me running at a 5 minute pace might seem quick for a backyard, but when I compare it to what my top end speed is, it's quite slow. So I think, yeah, just using that speed to my advantage, it's like, well, if I can get in the lap quicker, but in a comfortable pace, like I'm not burning myself out to get in that time, why not do that and utilize that extra time that I have to my advantage and get that extra sleep?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think that that is like a staple piece of advice for people that are looking to improve their yard total, would be to make sure that they're getting a dedicated speed block in to try and increase that speed ceiling?
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing with backyards is the strategies are so varied. And if you look at like at Biggs last year, so you take me out of the equation, the other runners there are all coming in with like 1 or 2 minutes to spare. So it doesn't necessarily mean that my strategy is the best. Like, yes, I might have been the last one standing there at the end of the day, but there's so many other events that you watch where people are going out quick and they're dropping in the first 24 hours because they've burnt themselves out too much. So I think, yes, don't get me wrong, like having that extra bit of speed in your legs is not going to hurt your performance. But I guess my point is there's different strategies for different people, and it's about finding what works for you. And what works for me, like I don't see a lot of other people at the top end using that same strategy. So I don't know, yeah, whether you want to follow me or follow those other guys that are at the top. But we've just shown that both methods work. So
Yeah, I was having that conversation with Dan Kamak, and he's obviously got that flexibility as well. Like he just recently ran like a 2:33 marathon at the Gold Coast up here, and
yeah,
yeah, I was asking, was there any thought behind trying to maintain that speed as a means to try and go big as well and have that flexibility? And he pretty much just said he likes running fast, like he loves racing. Like
yeah,
it wasn't necessarily something that he was overly thinking about, but. Yeah, I was always interested in guys like him and yourself and Sam who have that ability to run fast as well. And yeah, I do think that there is something to it. And if you can then solve that puzzle, which I think Dan needs to with the sleep, then yeah, it's going to be interesting to see just how long you guys can go. And I guess you're going to, be the ultimate test of that. What was it about 168 and being happy to do this without the plaudits of an official record or anything like that that made you want to actually execute this? Like, when did you say, like, pull the trigger where we need to do this, I need to do this?
yeah. So it's been, I don't know exactly when I first thought of it, but I think it's just been this idea that's been simmering away in my mind. And yeah, I think, yeah, like getting the world record at Dead Cow last year and then doing bigs with, you know, all the top runners in the world and getting so close to that record again, but still not quite getting it. I was kind of like, oh, like maybe now's the time to just, you know, go and do it on my own, like just as a personal challenge. Like, you know, I don't need it to be in an official backyard. I'm not looking to chase an official record. Like, I've already got the record. It's not about that. It's just for my own personal thing. Like, I want to see how far I can go and how far I can push myself. But at the same time, like, I want to like inspire others and show others what's possible. So when I do go to another event and there's people there lining up, instead of thinking, oh, this event could go to 120, like we could get a world record here, they're thinking bigger. So when it's getting close to 120, like subconsciously, they're not kind of starting to wrap the race up in their head. They're thinking, oh, this has still got another 2 days in it. So I'm hoping that, yeah, we can, like, I would really, like, depending on what I get to, like, we don't know if I'm going to get to the 168. I might get to somewhere between 119 and 168. But whatever it is, yeah, I just want, like, it's not an official record, but I hope to kind of set a standard where it shows people it's possible and that we do see that broken in an event somewhere. Like, we saw it happen with Kipchoge when he did his sub 2 hour marathon. Yes, he had special shoes and special pacing system, and all these other factors were controlled. But at the end of the day, he showed that 2 hours was possible. And then, you know, a couple of years later, we see that happen in an event, and not just one person, but 2 people broke that 2 hour barrier. And we had 3 people under the previous world record. So, yeah, like, I think, yeah, you'll still have your official world record, but there will also be, like, people will know that we can still do more than this. And, yeah, and, you know, it might, instead of taking 10 years of incremental growth to have an official record over 168, we might see that happen in half the time, because people's minds have been opened up a bit more of what's actually humanly possible.
Yeah, for sure. And is there any inkling from yourself about who you think in Australia may be able to, like, really level up and be able to sort of follow in your footsteps and push up? Like, is there anyone that you've seen in maybe some more domestic races that has put on performances recently that are getting you excited, or you don't really look too deep into the field?
Yeah, like, I think the Australian backyard scene is it just gets better and better each year. Like, you look at the team we've got going into Sat Champs this year. So, like, Brady, for example, ran 68 in his first ever backyard. If he's doing that in his first ever backyard with no experience in the format, how far is he going to go in his next one? We've seen Jack Hanley run 74. I think that was his 3rd backyard, but he just had a massive jump in his PB. So, yeah, I just think that there's these... It might not even be someone who's on the team now. Like, it could be someone out of nowhere just suddenly seeing these people do these big numbers, and seeing people like Brady do a debut of 68, and then they think, well, if he can debut with 68, you know, maybe I can do that too. And so, yeah, it could be someone on the team, or it could be someone that no one's ever heard of. But, yeah, with the way that the Australian backyard ultra scene is going, I think we'll be getting a few people into the 100 soon.
Yeah, well, let's hope so. And I think just speaking to the format of backyard itself, I think there's a bit more of an attractant for, like, younger generations to be sort of getting into, like, ultra running through backyards. Like, do you sort of feel that I guess the way that it's being marketed, and the fact that you just get to do it at the single location, like, it's accessible, you know, like you said with your very first one, you were uncrewed for, like, the first 8 hours. Like, you don't necessarily have to go overthinking your debut backyard. Like, what are your thoughts about the accessibility of the sport at the moment?
Yeah, I think it's like the perfect gateway race for ultra marathons. Like, running ultras was something that I'd never really considered. It's not like, you know, I was quite happy running, you know, 5K to marathon. And I was never like, oh, you know, I want to run a 100-miler one day. Like, what do I need to do to get up to a 100-miler? It just kind of happened organically. And, yeah, I think doing a backyard ultra, and, you know, you're not going there to, like, run a 100-miler. You're not lining up at that start line thinking, oh, I've got 100 miles to run. You're just like, oh, I'm just here to see how far I can go. You know, it might be 5 hours, it might be 10 hours, it might be 50 hours. Like, we don't know. And even like when I started it with my first backyard, I didn't even know that this was a format all around the world. I didn't know it happened at other places, and I didn't know what the world record was or Australian record was. So I was really naive. I had no idea what was a good result to get, what was a bad result, what was an average. Like, it was just went in there with no idea at all, and just it was just like literally like how long can I go in this? So yeah, I think for people getting into running or getting into ultras, it's just like the perfect way to do 100 miles in like a safe, controlled environment. Like, you don't have to worry about running for yourself for 20 k's at a time. You just got to run 6.7, and then you've got your crew there. You've got all of your comforts of home and things like that there. So and then once people start doing this and they realize what their body's actually capable of doing, then they can, they'll probably start looking at other events and, can I do a 100 miler? Can I do a 200 miler? And they want to just like keep pushing the limits.
How quickly did you catch the backyard ultra bug? Like, was it after that initial one?
Away.
Yeah, straight away. And
I was completely broken at the end of that first one, but I was like, I got to do this again. I got to try and sort this out and work out how I can go further. Because if I did this without much planning or training, like, how much further could I go if I nail all of those things?
And how many backyards had you done before you realized, like, hey, I've got some ability here, like I could really be one of the best in the world?
Probably the second one. So
Wow.
when I did that second one and broke the Australian record,
Yep.
I was, well, even after the first one, the first one afterwards, I found out that I was fourth highest result in Australia. So that's back when the record was 42.
Yep.
So there was someone who'd done 42 with the assist to 41, and then at that event the winner got 40 and I got 39. So I think even just then finding out that I was the fourth highest in Australia, like, that was huge. Like, and then I think that's what, at that point I decided, like, let's see what I can do. Like, if I change a lot of my planning and all of that, like, let's see if I can get to that number one. So going into that second backyard ultra, I knew what the Australian record was. The other people that were running knew what the Australian record was, and it was like kind of like a group goal to like try and get there. And we ended up doing it. So, and it's just been growing ever since.
Do you love that dynamic of like shifting between working as one towards like a common goal, like an Australian record or a world record, like the levels that you're operating at now, but then also, you want to win that race outright as well, I imagine, like everyone does. Like, how does you sort of switch between the mindset of I need these guys versus I also want to beat these guys?
Well, I think it goes back to what I was talking about before about following the process. Like, I'm not there to try and beat anyone or anything like that. It's just I'm there to see how far I can go. And like, when I'm working with other people, it's not like we're doing this to get to a goal. We're doing this because we're out here together, we're having fun, let's chat, let's, pass the time together.
Yeah.
And you just keep focusing on that process, focus on the conversations, all of that. Eventually, like, you'll get to a point where you'll be like, oh, look at that, we're close to the record. How did we get here, So yeah, I think it just comes back to focusing on that process. And if you're starting to look around at the other people and trying to work out, will they drop soon? Will I be able to win this soon? Or, you can start to go in, your mind can start to go to some negative places. So you just got to bring it back to yourself and just worry about what you're doing. And it doesn't matter if that other person is looking really strong and you get caught up in your head that, oh no, he's looking really strong. How am I going to outlast him? I think I've only got 1 or 2 laps left. Don't worry about what the other person looks like. Just focus on what you can do, because on the inside, he might be feeling terrible. And same with the other way around. Like, the other person might be looking like they're going to drop on the next lap. And you might start getting excited and think, oh, he might drop after this lap and then I've only got one more to do. But then like 20 hours later, you're still there. Like, he's still going, and like, why hasn't this guy dropped yet? I thought I was going to be done by now. And you can just get into that negative headspace. So it is hard in the moment, but I've definitely got better at it over time, but you just got to learn to just not focus on the other person, just focus on yourself.
Now, obviously, Project 168 won't have any of those variables.
Yeah.
Do you think that not having anyone around you, I mean, yes, you're going to have the people that are paying to do those laps with you.
Yeah.
Do you think that's going to affect the energy of that first 24 to 48 like you would see in a typical backyard, where that time may go a little bit quicker because there is all the hype of everyone that's going to be completing those early loops? Like, do you anticipate that the first 48 is actually going to be potentially the hardest 48 you've ever done?
Yeah, like I have thought about this, and I really don't know until I actually do it. But I mean, on one side of the coin, it's like I do feel like I'm the type of person that can run solo. If you said to me, if you gave me a scenario where I had to run with someone on every single run that I did, or I could never run with someone again, I would choose to never run with someone again. Like, don't get me wrong, I do enjoy my runs with other people, and I do enjoy that social aspect. But if I had to do it all the time, like every single run that I did, it would get too much for me. And I'd just come in, like my social battery would just be like drained every day. So I think having that solo time out there, because yes, I'm having people run with me for a donation, but that's not going to be every single lap. I've made sure to have some solo laps in there because I'm going to have some time to reset. And if I didn't have that option of people running with me, and it was just purely a solo effort, I still think I would do all right with it. But I think there's still going to be a lot of energy on the start and finish line. Coming back to the crew, and that's the thing I love about the backyards as well. It's not just about the people you're running with; it's your crew, and your crew's there every lap, and they're there for you, and you're sharing in this journey together. And when I do these big numbers, it's not just because of me, it's because of my whole team. Like, I wouldn't have got there on my own. And that's the great thing about backyard ultras, is it is a team sport, and not just a team sport in that, yes, it takes two to get to that distance, but it's a team of people. Like, I've got 8 crew for Project 168, taking it in shifts. Like, they've given up their week to come and help me out. But yeah, if I do get to this 168, it's not just me that's done it, it's the whole team, and it's just something that we'll always have, in our memories, and would be able to like share that experience together. If I was to go and do it all on my own, without any other runners, without any other crew, without any other spectators, like, yes, I do enjoy running on my own, but at the end of the day, I've got no one to share that experience with. So I think that'll be a big part of it for this event.
Oh, it's awesome to hear the gratitude that you have for those that get you there. I definitely feel the same way. Like, my wife was just crewing me at the 100 mile on the weekend, and she's, I'm sure just like you and Gemma, like she's your best mate, and they just want the best for you, and it just makes that whole process, even when it's not going so well, that much easier to get through. And I guess, speaking of batteries getting drained, I wanted to talk about just how big this undertaking has been, and if you could shed some light on, just some of the unexpected, like, curveballs or logistics or things that you've had to take on as a part of this, outside of what you're usually having to put yourself through from just a running perspective, but now you've got everything else.
Yeah, so we actually had this planned for the end of July. Right. But it was getting to, like, we're getting close to the start of July, and we're nowhere near being able to being ready to launch yet. We're going to have to push this back. So we ended up pushing it to the end of August, and that's still, like, everything still feels so rushed. Like, I just didn't realize how much extra work there would be to do. Like, a lot of the stuff, like the finding the location and getting the approvals and stuff like that was put in place quite early. But then, just like the marketing side of it, like dealing, emailing sponsors and responding to messages, and even just managing my social media, and announcing when the virtual apps are available, and doing those posts. It's just all stuff that takes time. But then I also need the time to, like, organise my own gear like I would normally do for a race. So there is a lot. I mean, I do have a good team, and I have outsourced a lot of the roles. Like Gemma's been amazing, like making a lot of phone calls and stuff for me, like responding to emails, even like my messages and stuff. Even the amount of volunteers that we've got in for this, I've outsourced that role. So shout out to Emma, who's handling all the volunteers at the moment, and she's dealing with all the emails and making the roster up for that. Even like some of the social media posts, like I just put a call out in my little crew group that I've got going, and it's like, can anyone help with this, or has anyone got photos that I could use for this? And they've all been pretty helpful. So it definitely takes a team, not just during the race, but in the whole lead up as well. And it feels like it's just consuming all of my time at the moment. Like I go to work and I come home and have to chase up on emails and things like that, and then get a little bit of sleep, go back to work and do it all again. But it is a bit of work. It's definitely an experience and a bit of a learning curve. And if I do ever do another thing like this again, I'll have a blueprint of how to handle it and hopefully be able to get it done a bit easier and quicker.
Yeah, for sure. Do you find that, with, I guess, the added noise going on outside of running, it's actually made you enjoy the training process even more leading into it?
I think I'm not really focused on the running as much. Like, especially now I'm in taper, it's like I get my run done because that's what I need to do, but I'm not really stressed about the running side of it. Like I'm not, even like the event, like I'm not looking toward the event, like stressing about what's going to happen when I'm running or getting anxiety about the actual running side of it. It's all just, I've got just other stresses to worry about. So the running bit's kind of the easy bit. That's the bit that just happens automatically and I don't need to think about it. But all the other stuff around that is what I'm stressed about. It's not actually, am I going to be fit and ready for race day? It's like, I feel like that's already squared away. It's just, are we going to have everything else ready to go for race day?
Oh, hopefully you'll be bursting out of your skin come lap 1 then.
Yeah, it'll be. I think it's like with any race, like it's like there is a bit of stress and anxiety in the lead up, but as soon as you take that first step on lap 1, you just forget about all that. So I'm sure like we're going to be ready in time. It is just a bit of work, but as soon as I take that first step, it's like I'm not going to have to worry about it. So
beautiful. And I guess being conscious of time as well, I just had a few more questions for you. The sport of backyard, like where do you see it in the next 5 to 10 years? There's going to be a lot of change, I'm sure. Like we saw the recent cancelled event in Russia. Like I think for the good of the sport, I think it's going to be a net positive in the fact that hopefully we should get some more clarity around what these races need to be run like and stuff like that. What are your general thoughts about the direction of the sport?
I definitely think we need a bit more clarity around the rules, especially when, the rules, yes, they're simple, but they can also be interpreted a lot of different ways, especially when you start translating into different languages and things like that. I don't know, like the other format that I love is the 24-hour, and it just, the contrast between them is huge. They're still both like just running a long way, but like when I think about running a 24-hour and all the rules that are in place to get a record ratified for that compared to a backyard ultra where it's just like, oh cool, you ran 119 hours, there you go, you've got the record. There's no like course certification, there's no drug testing, there's no required number of marshals on the course or anything like that. There's just a lot of like you look at a 24-hour and like other certified races, there's just so many rules around it. And you might look at it and be like, oh, that's a bit of overkill. But it's like, I understand why they need in there, because you want to have these records and these races and stuff. You want them to be consistent across the board. Whereas backyards, there are a few variables, but there's no ratification process, or, there might be someone disqualified for touching a mobile phone, but then at another event someone's passed a water bottle and no one even sees it happens and they don't get picked up on it, and it might happen a lot at that event, and because it doesn't get big numbers, like, say they finish with 30 yards but people are being handed water bottles all the time or something, like no one really looks at it because it's like, well, there wasn't any records broken, it wasn't a silver ticket or whatever.
Right.
So I think it'd be good to have some clarity and some more consistency. There's always going to be differences in like, you know, course locations and course terrain and things like that. But if all the other things can kind of be, you know, nailed down and consistent across the board, yeah, I'd like to see a bit more of that. But yeah, it is a growing format, but I still kind of feel like it's in its grassroots and which is kind of cool. Like it's a bit of a you know, a bit of the charm about it. But as it gets bigger and bigger, and there starts being more events that are breaking records, and you're getting controversies like what's happened at recent events, we do need a more clear cut kind of system around it, I guess.
Yeah. Do you think something like drug testing is needed to sort of legitimize the sport? Like, does the sport need more legitimacy?
Yeah, it's definitely getting to that point, and I know that there's some run directors out there who have looked into doing drug testing, but I mean that the cost and logistics around it can be prohibitive. Um, but yeah, I mean at the end of the day, like if if people want to cheat at a backyard, then that's on them. But I guess it becomes a problem when records or prize money and things like that are involved. So it'd be good to have a bit more of a legitimacy around that. You know, I would have like as official as backyard ultra records are, with you know them saying, oh yeah 119 is a record. It would be nice if there was a bit more of a process to actually get that ratified. Like if I could have been drug tested, if we could have had the course certified, or whatever other parameters you need to put in there. But at the end of the day, that's just how it is at the moment, and that's what we roll with. And we'll see what happens over the next 10 or so years, and as the format grows, will we see more of that?
Yeah. Do you think like it'll be a case of some of the race directors from across the world at some of these bigger events to try and drive it and come together with Laz, like assuming that he would even want something like that? Like, do you even know what the process would be to try? Like, is it pretty much up to Laz about whether he...
Yeah, I don't know what the process would be, but I do feel like it would need some sort of governing body, or it needs to fit under the IAU or something like that. Like, I don't know about all the politics of it, and I don't know if Laz would want to do it. Like, he just likes it being a sort of low-key event. But yeah, I mean, I'm still happy to go and run all these events, and you know, they're still, when you're at the event, they normally run pretty well. But yeah, just when you start comparing events across the board, it'd be good to have a bit more of a consistent system in place or something like that.
Yeah. And looking a little bit further beyond 168 and even Sat Champs, like, do you see yourself sort of going back to the 24-hour world? Like, I heard you talk on Patto's podcast about, you know, potentially doing some like trail races and stuff at some point in time after your experience with Holly Ranson over at Western States. It sounded amazing. I was so grateful to get to chat to her about all of that. And she was jabbing you about trying to get her out of bed to keep your run streak alive for the next day. So yeah, what are your thoughts for yourself beyond this?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think at the moment I'm in my prime for the backyard ultras, so that is definitely taking a lot of my attention. But yeah, after this 168, I do well. I've got a couple more big events planned in the backyard space. So I think it's going to be something that I'm always going to want to do. But maybe as I get less competitive in the backyard ultra space, I might start focusing less on those and more on those point-to-point races, which I'd be doing more for, you know, the experience and the places that I get to travel and the courses that I get to run on, and not necessarily as a competitive thing. But yeah, like, I just wish that there was more time in the year to fit all these different events in, and that the events didn't just clash with each other. I think, like, when I first got into ultra running, like around Perth at least, there weren't a lot of events, so you could probably just do every single ultra in Perth and have enough recovery time in between each one. But now, even just in Perth, it's just grown so much, and to be honest, most of my events aren't even in Perth anymore. They're just all around the world. So, so yeah, there's always going to be races that clash with each other, and it's just about sorting out which ones I want to do and which ones am I going to use as a training race. Or it is hard, but I think for now I think I've still got a few more backyards planned, but I'm never gonna I'm not going to plan more than a year or so ahead as to what race I'm going to do. I just kind of just go with the flow and see where it takes me, because I started with doing park run and went with the flow, and this is where it got me. So
crazy.
And I'm happy with where it's got me to, and so I'm excited to see what comes up in the future.
Fantastic, mate. Well, look, again, I'm very conscious of your time and I'm very appreciative of it. So before we wrap up here, would you just be able to sort of give the website details and everything for where people can go and donate for this awesome Project 168?
philgore.com.au. You can also follow me on Instagram, so phil.gore.ultrarunner. So you'll be able to follow Project 168 on there. There will be a live stream which will be through that website. You can go on there and you can donate. You can buy a t-shirt, and you can just find out a bit more about what's going on.
Fantastic. And one last one. What do you think Patto's going to talk about for 7 days?
Oh, don't know. He did go a bit loopy towards the end of Dead Cow Valley, didn't he? But we've got 2 live stream hosts, so him and PK.
Great.
So hopefully between the 2 of them, they'll be able to make sure that they get some sleep and don't get too loopy. But I mean, a little bit of sleep deprivation will probably make for a bit of entertaining live streaming, but I think, they need to at least get a little bit of sleep.
Fantastic, mate. Well, thanks so much again for your time, Phil, and all the best, mate. I can't wait to see you at the end of lap 168.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me on.
Take care, Phil.